In Growing Moo, what have been the headcount milestones where things changed the most?
Well, when you go from 1 to 2 people, so I'm a sole founder of the business and I ran on my own for a long time. So hiring the first proper, permanent person, making them part of the business, that was obviously a milestone for me. Sharing with another individual, learning how to communicate properly and share things, and that was probably the first milestone. The next was getting up to about 10, 20 people. I suppose we'd classify it as when you're too many people to go out for lunch, And every Friday, the entire company, we have 170 employees now, the entire company sits down to have lunch together. In the US and in the UK. So we have about 110 people sit down in London. We bring food in, we break bread, and we have a meal together. We wanted to keep having lunch together every Friday, but we couldn't go out to restaurants anymore. So, and I mean that as a sort of joke that we couldn't go out to lunch anymore, but also it's harder to have it's harder to have a chat with people, with a group of people when you're too big to fit around a restaurant table. You have to start standing up and giving a presentation. It's no longer a conversation. So you have to start breaking the groups down into smaller chunks. So that was an inflection point, I would say. I'm trying to think the specific kind of numbers, but somewhere between 20 and 100, you definitely go from, an intimacy. Even at 20, you're still very intimate. You can sit around a bank of desks, everyone's name and their partner's name and where they live and, all that sort of stuff. But somewhere between 50 and 100, that starts to break. And you really have to do smaller groups, and you have to bring in some hierarchy and, early management structures and things. Certainly as we got to, and we were kind of lucky in the sense that because we had 2 locations, even though the overall number is quite big, the offices didn't feel too big. So, maybe that had an influence. Also, we were letting desks in the office that we had. We always did that until middle of last year or early last year. So we always had other people around. So we felt like we were sharing space kind of in London. So that gave us a kind of an interesting vibe about how big we felt or small we felt. But I would say between 100 and the 170 that we're at now, we've gotten to the point where I don't know everyone's name anymore. And you get to a point where I actually haven't met everyone because I was traveling the day they started. I didn't get to meet them yet. I maybe have seen a wiki post with their photo, but I don't know what their voice sounds like. I don't know how to pronounce their surname maybe, and that's when you have to make a special effort to, if you want to continue doing that, to make sure that you go over and say hello, or, that you have to start engineering the creation of that relationship, that connection, versus it just happening. You no longer just see them at the pub after work. You have to actually make an effort to do that. And you also, what I'm seeing around the corner is you have to be okay with not knowing everyone's name, and you have to be okay with not having met everyone and bumping into people in the elevator and going, "Oh, what do you do?" And I find that very strange, having started the company, that I would get to a point where I actually didn't know what someone did in the company. And that scares me. But also, I know it's a natural part of the progress of the business. I know it's important, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
So, and some people aren't. Some people like the intimacy of a smaller business, and that's totally fine. But my goal for Moo is that we have massive, significant global recognition and brand awareness. That our products, I believe that our products are great, and I want more people to have them. And we can't do that by just having a really small business. So I'd much rather that more people in the world knew us than I knew fewer people in the office, if you like. So that's very the way that I look at it today.